All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to True Crime Loser. Good to be here. All right. So we're continuing with Jodi Arias' interrogation analysis. We're about an hour in to the first part of like 10 hours. I do want to say I'm probably going to do Jodi today and then finish up this chunk of the interrogation on Monday and then take a break for a while on Jodi, do another case, do a couple other cases. This case is just so long and there's so much. In order to do it the way I would do other cases where I just do step by step, it would take so long that I would just end up insane pushing a shopping cart around singing "Oh Holy Night" into a carrot or something, and I just can't do that. So today and Monday, a lot of people are going to be bummed, a lot of people are going to be happy, but Jodi is just a black hole nightmare. And so after Monday, it'll be 4 videos, about 2 hours. That's enough on Jodi for a little bit. But anyway, let's get into this. So Jodi is, rambling on like a murderer. Just does not get brevity whatsoever. I really miss Dahlia in this whole thing because Dahlia could say what Jodi does. What Jodi says in 20,000 words, Dahlia can say in one sentence. Just, I heard what you heard, I saw what you saw, and it's not true. Boom. But Jodi just rambles. Okay, so this one, the first hour of the interrogation, the detective sort of let her go, just let her talk, see what she's going with, and then this hour he kind of cuts her off, lays down the evidence, and she gets beat up a little. There's some strange moments in this one too. It just gets so bizarre. All right, so the detective's whole strategy with this one is, Jodi, I have all the evidence. I'm positive that you did it. Now, the only reason I'm talking to you is I just want to know why. I just want to know why. We know you did it, but I want to know why. And I get what he's doing. I know in reality, he's still going for the confession. He wants her to just confess so they don't have to do the whole trial. But it doesn't really work because he knows why. There is a motive. She was jealous. She was the cleaning lady. She wanted to get married. He wanted to marry anybody else, and she was the cleaning lady, and she just couldn't take it. And she's converted to be a Mormon, and she is, he's like, oh, I'm so desperate to marry just a nice Mormon woman, and she's sitting there like scrubbing the table like, well, I'm one. And she killed him. But in order for the detective to be like, we have all the evidence and we're positive that you did it, in order to give some sort of reason of why I'm sitting back here and talking to you, Jodi, for 10 hours, is he keeps saying, I just want to know why. But to me, it's like, you know why. And she's just the doing the sweet thing. Like, I would never hurt Travis. He did so much to me. I would never hurt him. The detective's like, you hurt him. That's why I'm here. That's the only reason we're doing this, is because you hurt him. That's why I flew down here. And she's like, but I just would never do it. I just would never hurt him. I would never. And then he says, Jodi, there's so much evidence. And I think he lays out this evidence really well. And he goes, each time he writes, I don't know why, but he'll write it on his pad of paper and then he'll show it to her. And then he'll write the next thing. So first he goes, Jodi, there's pictures. The digital camera that you guys took nudes with. You took pictures of Travis in the shower with. He took pictures of you on the bed with. And then you put those into the washing machine. Those pictures were able to be pulled off that camera still. So I know you were there. It's time stamped. It's time stamped, Jodi. Jodi, it's time stamped. And so he writes that down. And he goes, also, Jodi, there's blood. Writes it down. There's blood, Jodi. There's your blood. And she's like, well, I lived there for months. And he's like, there's pools of your blood mixed with his blood, Jodi. And then he swings the pad back around. There's your hair in blood. There's bloody hair, Jodi. And then she's like, this is one of my favorite parts, is she takes her hair and looks at it and she goes, well, could you know how they, like, could you do like a hair test where you like, and she's like looking at her hair, could you like do a hair test where, you know how like they do drug test with hair? And then she pulls her hair out and she goes, what's the line? She goes, can you measure the time? Can you measure the time? I wish you would have said, yeah, Jodi, we can measure time with a clock, Jodi. But that doesn't change the fact that your hair is stuck in blood and that there's pictures of you naked and then killing Travis, and then there's a bloody palm print too. Your left palm is, and when he says that, he goes, your left palm is stuck. There's a palm print on the wall of your left palm in blood, Jodi. Not just a palm print from like maybe if you lived there and they didn't wipe that spot for months, but there's a palm print in blood. And she looks at her palms like, what? I don't have blood on my palms. Can you measure the time? I don't know what's going on, please. Can you measure the time? We're not here for any reason, Jodi. Can you measure the time? Yep, we could. The time can be measured. And so, so she's going on. Well, I don't know how. I mean, I lived there. I mean, my hair would be everywhere, and I used to give the dog a bath, so like there would be blood. It's like, how do you bathe a dog, Jodi? That was her excuse for why there's blood everywhere. Is she was like, I used to bathe the dog. But none of these really go anywhere because it's like, Jodi, that was months ago. And there's blood everywhere, and your blood is mixed with his blood, and there's pictures of you there that day, time-stamped. Your trip doesn't make any sense. Your little map doesn't make any sense. It's so, and she's like, goes back into her suite. Well, I agree that the pictures are a little bit compelling. And finally, he cuts her off. The first time in an hour or so, he just cuts her off and says, Jodi, the evidence is there. And then he also goes, Jodi, he was shot by a .25 auto. The gun that was reported stolen from the house you were living in. And she just plays dumb, like, really? She does that a few times where she just goes, really? Can you measure the time? Holding her hair, can we measure time? Wow. We can? Wonder if we could do like a drug test and then measure some time. Maybe that would get me off. If we could only measure the time, Jodi. Man, what are we going to do? And so he's ramming. Anything she says at this point is like, well, maybe. It's like, Jodi, there's pictures. Jodi, there's blood. Jodi, there's hair in blood. Jodi, the gun that was stolen from the house you were living in was the gun. Where is that gun? And she doesn't really have a great answer for all of this, which is really satisfying. This is a satisfying chunk of Jodi Arias because she gets beat up a little bit. And so if you are a Jodi hater, kind of like me, where it's like, could never really get into any of this, never really watched. Like I said, I was easily could just get through George Hughley's interrogation, Stuyven McDaniel's interrogate, all of those. And with this one, it's like work. I have to like pay attention. So if that's how you feel about Jodi, watch the first chunk of her interrogation and start at like an hour, and it's pretty good. All right, so she's getting just creamed with evidence, just creamed. And she goes, she has these weird, like, where it seems like she's about ready to confess. Like at this point, she goes, if I'm found guilty, I won't have a life. And it's almost like, yes, keep going, Jodi. Keep going. You're effed. We all know it. And then she goes, I'm not guilty. If I'm found guilty, I won't have a life. And then she's like, she thinks about it. It's like, remember, you're a total psycho. And she's like, I'm not guilty, though. And then the detective goes, Jodi, you were obsessed with Travis. Everybody I talked to, every single person says, you got to talk to Jodi. Either Jodi did this or she had someone do it. She was totally obsessed. It was a fatal attraction type thing. He goes, we even talked to your grandparents at the house you're living in. Even they weren't surprised. They were like, she's probably did something. Talk to Jodi. She was like, even your grandparents. He was like, even your grandparents aren't surprised or think that we need to look at you. And she's trying to stay sweet. It's just like, oh, really? Well, if you think about it, grandparents are old and their memories. And then, all right, so then there's one of my favorite parts. So then he was like, Jodi, do you have a pair of sweatpants that have a stripe and that have zippers on the back? Oh, yeah, and he had already told her they're at your place, searching it right now. So anything that's at her place right now she has to, in her head, think, well, they're probably going to find, so I can't lie about it. So he did a good job to be like, they're at your place searching right now. Are they going to find stuff? A little early on. And then, so now he goes, you know, you got these sweatpants with stripes and a zipper. And she goes, well, yeah, I do. And I actually have two pairs, and one of them's too small, and one actually fits about right. And one was on sale, and it was a really good deal. And that's why I bought them. And he just cuts her off, and he's like, those were the sweatpants that you were wearing when you murdered her. And it's just, that to me sums up her. She's like rambling on, and actually they fit right about right, and I bought one because it was a good deal. And she's talking about the pants that she wore while slitting and shooting and stabbing somebody. And I've said this before, it's very David Lynch. That's like the whole arena that he lived in as a director, or I guess still does, is the comically mundane, where she's saying, yeah, one of the pairs fits just right, and I got it on a good deal. And then the next sentence is, those are the pants you were wearing when you murdered him. It was a great deal. One fits just about right. So he goes, yeah, so those are the pants you were wearing, Jodi, when you killed him. We have pictures. The camera took some pictures. And then she goes, oh, well, I didn't bring those pants on the trip, so... And she's like, the way she says so is she's like, it's like, that's it. That's what we needed to find to clear me, is I didn't bring those pants on the trip. Yes. So the trip, I didn't bring them. So the bloody hair and all my blood and the palm print, it doesn't matter because I didn't bring the pants with the zips on the thing, and it's like, I think her lawyer failed. If I was her lawyer, I would have been in there going, if the pants weren't on the trip, you must have quit. The pants weren't on the trip. I rest my case, Your Honor. Jodi, get ready to go to the beach, because we just did it. Okay, so surprisingly to her, the cop really wasn't too impressed with the pants that weren't on the trip. Defense. So, unfortunately for Jodi, they keep going. And it's not really going anywhere. Jodi is kind of going back and forth between admitting, like, yeah, that evidence is pretty good, and just kind of going into Jodi nightmare la la land, just being sweet, like, wow, like, the evidence is a lot, but I didn't do it. So then the cop is like, maybe if I showed you pictures, Jodi, maybe if I showed you pictures, would that help? Would that get us to the point where you'll at least admit that you were there if I show you pictures while you were there? And so they take a break for pictures. It's like they're like, we'll take a break. We'll come in, and I'll come back in with the pictures and show them to you. And so he gets up, and as he's leaving, she just goes, I'm not a murderer. It's like, all right, if you're not a murderer, then maybe just go home. You're free. I'm not a murderer. Okay, so then he leaves, first break, and she does like this weird back bend thing, and it's like all the horror movies for a while had like the girl that does a back bend, and then she like crawls up the wall. I half expected Jodi to just like over the ceiling. So she does a back bend, and then she flips her creepy hair and heads down. Sits there for a little while. Detective comes back in, and he comes back in, and she looks at his gun and goes in her little sweet voice, what kind of gun is that? And the detective's like, it's a Glock. It's a Glock, Jodi. I don't know. If you killed someone and you're in the detective interrogation room, just getting killed with evidence, buried with evidence, when the detective walks back in, why would you ask him what kind of gun he has? What kind of gun is that? A Glock, Jodi. So then we start looking at pictures. He's got a whole binder. He's got a whole binder of nudes. Of Jodi. He's got a whole binder of pictures of Travis just mutilated. And he starts going through them, and he'll show her a section. And a great line that Jodi has kind of right off the bat is, if Travis was here, he would tell you I didn't do it. Great, Jodi, but he's not here because you shot him in the face. If he was here, and so she's still denying even being there. So I think the detective's goal is to just be like, if I can get for her to admit that she was there, that's even a huge help for the trial, because they have a lot of evidence that put her there, and then if she admits that she's there, then all they got to do, it's a less of a jump to get to proving that he killed her. So he's like, you were there, Jodi. She's like, I wasn't there. I wasn't. And then he, flips to a picture, her naked. It's like, Jodi, this is you. And she goes, that looks like me. He's like, it is you, Jodi. It's time spent. It's you. That's you. That's all of you. And the detective goes, I've seen all of you, which came off a little creepy. Just say, this is you naked, Jodi. The detective saying, I've seen all of you, sort of was like, all right, bro. Like I just pictured him on like a third date, taking out someone to a restaurant, being like, tonight's the night I see all of you. And the woman's just like, yeah, okay, was going to be until you described it as seeing all of me. I'm going to see all of you. So then he shows her the pictures that the camera took while it was happening with the pants. One of the pants fits pretty darn good, actually, and the second one was on sale. So he shows her, he goes, look, Jodi, this is your foot. Those are the pants. This is Travis being killed. This is you killing Travis. We have a picture of it. And Jodi goes, that's his bathroom. And it's like, yes, Jodi, we're not here to solve the bathroom mystery. That's one thing that we're pretty sure of, is that it's his bathroom. And then, it's still going back and forth. And there's like 10 more hours of this interrogation. And I think that I would have, they have such good evidence with the hair, the bloody hair, the palm print in blood is great because it's a palm print in blood. And the gun, the same gun that was stolen from her grandparents' house. They have all of that. And so with that, such good evidence, I don't know if I would have talked to her for 10 hours. I think I would have just done what Jim Smith did in what's his name? In that opiate addict case where they killed the little... Anyway, at a certain point, Jim Smith just goes, I don't care if you confess anymore. I really don't. I'm just going to talk at you. Jodi, you murdered Travis. We have a great case. We caught you. You're going away. Basically just for his own satisfaction. If I was the detective, I would have just laid it down for it. Like, you going away forever, Jodi. But he doesn't do that. But then there's also, like, Jodi starts to do strange things where she's like he'll be pouring on the evidence, the bloody palm print, Jodi, and she'll do things like, well, say I didn't, but say if I did do this. It's like an innocent person would never do that in regards to a murder. She was like, say if I did do this, what would the penalty be? And the detective's like, I don't know. That would have to do with how you handle it from here. Do you have remorse? Blah, 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 saying detective stuff. And she'll switch out of her little suite. So she goes from like the voice of like, so what kind of gun is that? To, say if I did do this, what would the penalty be? And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, what would the sentence is. What she turns like the business Jodi on, where it's like, yeah, what am I looking at here? And then she'll pop out of it and be like, but I didn't do it. And then she kind of goes into Bible Jodi of like, I like the 10 Commandments, and one of those is I shall not kill, and I don't kill because I shall not. And the detective's like, yeah, but there's pictures. And, okay, so I'm going to cut it off there for this one. Things to look forward to on Monday is she does a handstand. Come on. Even if you hate Jodi, that's pretty cool. You're being interrogated for murder. The evidence is this high. You're talking like a sweet moron, and then you do a handstand. Yes, the first lie handstand. We did it, people. We're there. But that's it for today. Thank you to everybody that supports me on Patreon. Thanks to everybody that likes and subscribes and comments on the videos. It's so fun. Have a good Easter and a good weekend. True Crime Loser out. Be good.